officer, the county council, the executive officer, and the sergeant-at-arms are all here to assist. And we will begin today's board meeting with our county's land acknowledgement. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, the Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizures, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments, including, in no particular order, the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, the Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Quiche Nation, the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, the San Fernando Band of Mission. Thank you. And now we'll move on to our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be led by Pastor Joseph Carlos Robinson from Resurrection Church, LA, from the second.
The Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Quiche Nation, the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, the San Fernando Band of Mission Indians. Thank you. And now we'll move on to our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be led by Pastor Joseph Carlos Robinson from Resurrection Church, LA, from the 2nd District. And then that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ty Askew, Captain, United States Army, from the 3rd District. And if you're able this morning, please stand.
Will you join me in prayer? Good, great, and gracious God, we thank you so very much for this opportunity as this unique body gathers in these turbulent times. I ask that you would give them your wisdom and your strength, and we invoke your presence during these deliberations. I ask that their decisions be motivated by your mercy, compelled by your compassion, and engineered by your justice. I further ask that you give each of these women the poise, the dignity, and the strength to bear the weight of their office. Keep their families safe, their minds and hearts open, and based on what we have already observed this morning, their patience and their sense of humor strong. I finally ask that their interests advance your interests, that their agenda advance your agenda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and please, I hope you all will join me in welcoming Pastor Joseph Carlos Robinson to the body today. He is the...
That your tender touch and the way you present these animals makes a big difference out there with our listening audience, and you really help get these animals adopted. Thank you.
Of the board, today's agenda will begin on page 2, consent calendar, Board of Supervisors items 1 through 28. On item 4, Supervisor Horvath requests that this item be referred back. On items 5, 7, and 9, Supervisor Hahn requests that these items be held. Also, these include a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 20, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 21, Supervisor Solis requests that this item be held. On item 22, Supervisor Solis requests that this item be referred back. On item 24, Supervisor Solis requests that this item be held. Also, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 28, Supervisor Horvath will recuse herself pursuant to Government Code Section 84308. On page 28, Administrative Matters, items 29 through 73. On item 30, Supervisor Horvath requests that this item be held. On item 35, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be held. On page 55, this includes miscellaneous additions to the agenda which were posted more than 72 hours in advance of the meeting as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 71C, Supervisor Hahn requests that this item be referred back. On item 71L is a recommendation to appoint Guillermo Villarosa to function as the Chief Strategist for the Juvenile Operation for the Probation Department at an annual salary of $320,000 effective April 12, 2023. This item is a separate matter item. On page 56, Ordinance for Introductions, items 74 through 75. On page 57, Separate Matters on item 76. On page 58, Special Districts Agenda. This is the agenda for the Los Angeles County Development Authority. On item 2D, this is an addition as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On page 59, notices of closed session. The request for referbacks through CS3 are before you.
Thank you. Moved by Supervisor Mitchell, seconded by Supervisor Horvath to approve these items, and without objection, that will be the order. Executive Officer, please play our Code of Conduct.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I please have your attention? The meeting of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors is about to commence. A code of conduct will now be read, and we request that you comply with it to ensure the efficient administration of the meeting. Members of the public, it is your right to participate in today's board hearing, and the board encourages such participation. However, the right of the public to address the board must be balanced with the need to ensure that public comment does not interfere with the orderly course of the board's business. All are reminded to abide by the following rules. Speakers must cease speaking immediately when their time has ended. Public comment on agenda items must relate to the subject matter of that item. General public comment is limited to subjects within the jurisdiction of the board. Public comment does not include the right to engage in a dialogue with board members or staff. Please remain respectful of the forum and refrain from uttering, writing, or displaying profane, personal, threatening, derogatory, demeaning, or other abusive statements toward the board, any member thereof, staff, or any other person. Members of the audience should be respectful of the views expressed by speakers, staff, and board members, and may not clap, cheer, whistle, or otherwise disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting. Any person engaging in conduct that disrupts the meeting is subject to being removed from the board meeting. And finally, if you witness conduct or behavior by other members of the public that disrupts your ability to remain engaged or participate in this meeting, please notify the Sergeant at Arms or other county staff. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you. Today we're going to begin with item 5. Then we'll take up items 7, 9, and 21, followed by items 24, 30, and ending with item 35, which were held by supervisors, and finishing with the remaining items not held by the board and general public comment. And before we begin with our held items, Executive Officer, please read the call-in information that was provided on the agenda and explain the speaking rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For members of the public wishing to participate remotely, as indicated on the agenda, please call 226-8163 and use participant code number 1336503. Members of the public participating remotely and in the boardroom, you will have the opportunity to address the board throughout the meeting. You will receive 1 minute to address the board on items held by supervisors and up to a total of 3 minutes on all remaining items and general public comment for a total of 6 minutes for this meeting. Please monitor your time and the items you're signing up for, as your name will not be called once your time has elapsed. For members of the public joining us remotely, when the board moves to the item you wish to address, promptly press 1, then 0 to be entered into the speaking queue. Remember to turn down the volume on your device as soon as the moderator calls on you, or there will be an echo. You will need to press 1, then 0 for each item on which you would like to speak. To ensure we hear from both in-person and telephonic speakers, we will alternate between the two speaking queues. Members of the public who are in attendance, when you hear or see your name displayed on the screen, please come down to the front of the boardroom and staff will assist you. Please do not approach the podium until directed to do so. We will begin by calling in-person speakers, and while they are coming forward, we will take telephonic speakers.
Thank you. You have such a lovely voice. It's just wonderful.
Hi, Jesus.
Could probably make a lot of money doing voiceovers or something, but no, we like you here, so don't leave. But it's just so calming and so soothing. Wonderful. Don't you think he has a wonderful speaking voice? Yes. Okay. Oh, I just told the audience to clap when you just read the rules and said no clapping. All right, no clapping. Okay, we were going to begin with item 5, which is equitable access to health care for contracted employees, which I held. And for members of the public, please press 1 then 0 now to comment on this item. This motion has been something I know my staff and I have been working on for a long time. Under Prop A, when the county is determining whether we're going to have a service provided by a county employee or contract that work out to a company, we have to do what we call a Prop A analysis and go with whichever option is cheaper. And to no one's surprise, contracting out is often determined to be cheaper because those workers do not get the same benefits as LA County employees. And that's a problem, in my opinion. That policy means that the county is contributing to low-wage, low-benefit jobs that are driving poverty in our communities. Right now, our county hospitals rely on over 2,000 contracted workers, including janitorial staff, security workers, food service workers, and these are the people who keep our hospitals clean. They keep our hospitals secure. They keep our doctors, nurses, and our patients fed. And these are the same workers who risk their lives coming to work in our hospitals at the height of the pandemic when we were telling everybody else to stay home and shelter in place. They didn't have the luxury of working from home. They put their lives on the line by coming into work every day. But these same employees, many cannot afford to even go to the doctor because their employers don't provide them the health insurance that they need. That's not right. And the county should not be cutting costs on the backs of these workers. And that's what this motion in front of us today aims to solve. Our motion will require every new contract for security, janitorial, environmental, and food services at county hospitals to require 100% employer-paid health care benefits for employees who work 30 hours a week or more. I know we can't, just put your hands in the air if you want to applaud. Lastly, this will also require that these new contracts to require a labor peace agreement, a mutually beneficial agreement where the employer does not interfere with their workers' right to organize, and the workers agree not to strike. And the aim is to keep open lines of communication and resolve disputes more effectively. And lastly, this motion will direct Kezia Davenport to explore options for implementing these policies to other departments outside of the Department of Health Services in the future. Supervisor Solis and I were just outside before the board meeting with SEIU United Service Workers RES and their leadership. And I want to thank David Huerta, the president, and his entire team for working hand in hand with us on this. And I want to thank all the workers who are here today advocating for themselves and for their fellow workers who couldn't be here with us today. And now I am honored, and I really want to let my co-author, our former U.S. Labor Secretary under President Obama, first Latina to serve in the cabinet of our President of the United States, Supervisor Hilda Solis, to say a few things.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope I don't get in trouble. But they say good trouble, right? As John Lewis used to say. I want to say thank you so much to Chairwoman Hahn, and I also want to thank our staffs in particular for working on this issue for the last 2 or 3 years. And I know it's been a hard road to get here today, but I think it's worthwhile. We've had the help of many of you in the audience, but also people in this room, our county council, as well as our CEO, our budget representatives as well. It's no surprise, I think, to many of us that we know that the men and women who work at our local hospitals have put their health at risk, not just now, but during the COVID pandemic. And many of them showed up to keep the engines of our system moving, whether it was cleaning up high-towered buildings, removing waste, or helping our medical technicians and staff continue to do their job. They were there on the front lines, and their faces are reflected here in the audience today. And many that couldn't make it because they're also busy working. One of the things I want to mention is that we're not just talking about one individual who's working in our facilities or alongside another contracted organization, but they represent millions and millions of families, hundreds of families that many of us represent who don't have the luxury of having health care benefits, sometimes are constrained by work hours, hours that may not even adjust or give them the ability to address issues at home or caring for their own loved ones. I think all of these things are important for us as we deliberate on many of these issues that come before the board. But I want to say that the bulk of the people that will be impacted are those people that we represent, people of color, both African American, Latino, Asian, and others that represent a diverse array of individuals who make our country and our county what it is today. I want to say to them, I applaud you for your hard work. You've been persistent and resilient, and in many times facing extreme challenges, including this board, but you did it. So we're hopeful today that we'll have the support of our other board members in passing this motion that will also provide, I think, a breath of fresh air and maybe some relief to many families that couldn't be here today. And as we're moving towards this pastoral season, I hope that this brings some peace of mind to you and your families, because I know you have been through a lot during the pandemic, and we still have much more to do. And I think the county is here to work with you as much as we can. I want to thank Supervisor Hahn and her staff for working alongside ours on this. This has been not an easy task, as we know. But we know that the hard work of our partners, SEIU, USWW, and their leader, Mr. Huerta, and the partners, todas las familias que están acá hoy día celebrando también este iniciativo, que ojalá va a pasar con ustedes, que han trabajado tanto para nuestras comunidades. Sabemos que sufren muchos ustedes, y que queremos saber que hay justicia para ustedes y sus familias. Con eso solamente quiero decir que ojalá vamos a luchar, y va a ser un mensaje bien grande para toda la nación, porque aquí en el condado somos el más grande condado en Estados Unidos. Cuando nosotros hablamos y hacemos algo pasa en otras partes también. So, ojalá que vamos a luchar y que sigan luchando, y sí se puede. Gracias. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Gracias. Now I'd like to turn to Supervisor Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I want to thank you and Supervisor Solis for bringing this really critical issue to the table today. You know, I've still, for the vast majority of my professional career, have been a health advocate and have fought to make sure that we expand access to health services, both as a leader of a health advocacy organization, a member of the legislature. And so will be supporting today's motion. And it was important for me to understand kind of how we got here. You know, I understand contracting and how government sometime in difficult budget times opt for that because it's cost savings, which is a problem. But as I looked back, it's my understanding that in 2015, after the ACA was implemented, the board requested and approved a revised living wage ordinance. That ordinance eliminated the health care requirement and increased the living wage hourly rate for all county contracted workers since they would have access to ACA coverage. Unfortunately, once I think workers transitioned to the ACA, they found that it didn't always meet their needs. It could be expensive, a variety of things. So I appreciate why the need for the motion today. And as I said, I'll be supporting it. I also have lived through horrific budget cuts. And during those times, I said to myself, that's why I, fashion myself the budget queen and focus on budget issues, because I never want to give a benefit to a worker that we aren't confident will be able to maintain indefinitely. And so I really want us as a board to be clear about the number of, if you will, unfunded mandates that we're imposing on ourselves. I support this motion. I believe healthcare is a fundamental right and have fought for it my entire career. And I want to be in a position where we are governing a county government with a budget that is healthy and continues to prioritize workers and worker rights and access to healthcare services. And so I think that we have to begin to think holistically about what we are prioritizing as a board. So I've begun to kind of keep a short list because, frankly, I'm nervous.
Here. We've given our own county employees a COLA increase this year. We've got a number of lawsuits looming with liability that we can't even guesstimate. We've got, based on my count, more than a dozen board motions that have already passed that we didn't identify a funding source. You are in queue. The list continues to grow. It feels a little like when I was a little kid, I would tell my mom, well, just write a check. I figured she had checks in her checkbook, and she could buy whatever I needed from Fedco. So this notion that we write checks and we're not clear where the money comes from, I think is concerning. I am fine with making tough choices, but I think priorities are important, and we as a board have a responsibility to be clear that we as a governing body prioritize and give the CEO direction in terms of what must be funded, because we are making a commitment to making sure that those resources continue to be available in the long run. Again, I never want to be in a position, knock on wood, to expand access to critical services and not know if we are in the position to continue to make them available in the long run. That is a problem. So, Madam Chair, if I may, I have a couple questions of the CEO with regard to, budget, if I may. Thank you. That was off the top of my head, a quick list of, I think, our county vulnerabilities. Was that comprehensive? Did I miss any big picture? Because I want to keep myself awake at night, worrying about how we as a county are going to be able to continue to provide these important services to workers and residents.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor and the morning board. What I would say is the list was accurate, but certainly not complete. I know you alluded to, and then I'm not sure if you included this in your list, but we do have obligations under both of our consent decrees with the Department of Justice for both sheriff and for our probation department. Just to add to your list, name a few. Okay.
What percentage of current Prop 8 contractors are provided employer-paid health insurance benefits for their contracted employees?
So, as is stated in the preamble of the motion, our office did a report that was issued in June of 2022. The answer to the question at the moment is we don't know. We did a survey, or IFD did a survey working with us in collaboration with the motion. We did not receive complete information. So I couldn't tell you today comprehensively this is what the percentage is.
You know, that I think that's important information in terms of, you know, the whole point of the discussion around the Affordable Care Act is really making sure that employers step up too. And we saw so many examples of contractors or employers who intentionally kept wages at a level to allow their employees to, you know, qualify for public health benefits, that they weren't stepping up to the plate to provide health insurance as an employer should. Second quick question, what would be the increased cost to the county of requiring contractors to provide, just to kind of put a line in the sand, the equivalent of the Affordable Care Act goal plan level?
Yeah. So another answer where I can give you information that's accurate based on an estimate, but still incomplete. So I can't give you the comprehensive number, dollar figure, because we don't know what the total universe is. But the Department of Health Services did do an analysis, and they did a point-in-time count for janitorial services and food services for those employees, and they estimated just based on that point-in-time count that it would be somewhere in a range of $6.3 million and $10 million, and that was for approximately 1,500 employees. Okay. What you would need to do is extrapolate that number out to a larger population to get the global.
You know, I think it's important as we do these analyses to figure out, you know, what makes sense for, you know, Wall Street to give us a good credit rating. They want to look at our assets and our bank account and our liabilities. And so we want to maintain a good credit rating so we can continue to get great interest and continue to provide resources that the county needs, employees, contracted employees, and residents. I think we have a responsibility to make sure that we are able to identify funding sources for all these really important things that we have to do on behalf of workers in the county and county residents. So again, happy to support today's motion and want us to continue to talk about how we prioritize our funding. Thank you, Madam Chair. That we think you deserve, and you're right, and this is just going to be about when we look to contract out, looking at the cost, and so maybe it eventually we can bring all these employees in as county employees, and we don't have to worry about contracting out. That makes it easier to step at night. Okay, my next supervisor on the queue is Catherine Barger.
Thank you. I hear what you're saying, President Mitchell, loud. We were the safety net, so we in essence were the providers of the health care for those that were contract employees. And so we were paying one way or the other. And everyone has an access to health care. And I know that I personally met with some of the people probably in the audience and heard their stories. Many of them who have either a relative or they or a husband or wife or they themselves have a chronic illness. And the cost exceeds the amount of money that they're bringing in. They cannot afford the ACA. And so I think it's important for us to recognize that, as you said, healthcare is a basic right. And I know that we can all agree that those who are the infrastructure of our healthcare institutions deserve to have access to affordable healthcare. Because right now there is access to healthcare, but the question is it affordable, especially for those that have
Our Prop A that mandates health care. And by the way, you know, I have to say that Fizia, it's important to note that when I talk to some of the employees, they're offered ACA. But if they're bringing home, let's say, $500 a week, and their health care is $250, I think that they are going to say, while I would love to be able to buy it, I can't afford it. So I think it's important for us to note that even when we're talking about individuals that are companies we contract with that are providing access to healthcare, that we recognize what does that mean, because the devil will be in the details as it relates to the access. So I think it's important for us to note that. So I do support this motion because, again, we are the safety net provider. And through ACA, the whole premise of access to healthcare is there, but it's still not affordable. And I think it's important for us to recognize that if we're going to contract out, that should be a built-in cost as it relates to the services they provide. And it may come in revenue neutral or it may come in less. I don't know. It hasn't been tested, but I think it's important for us to take that first step toward addressing that.
Employees in these roles have always been essential, and we gained an even deeper appreciation during the pandemic of the importance of the roles that they play in our county in keeping people safe, healthy, and cared for. Despite their importance, many of our contract staff have not had access to comprehensive and affordable health benefits for far too long. And the irony is that many of these workers who perform services in healthcare facilities that are essential in our county, they're working in facilities where they don't have the right to access the very services that other people are accessing in the places where they're working. Today,
Will the following individuals please come forward? Anthony Thomas, David Huerta, Critical Tuesday, Maria Blanco, and Red Chief Hunt. Moderator, can we have the first remote caller?
Our first participant is Orlando Chavez. You may begin. Orlando Chavez, you may begin.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me? Hello? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, hello, sorry about that. Hi, my name is Orlando Chavez. I'm a senior policy analyst at Ultimate Health Services. Ultimate is one of the largest HCAs in the U.S. and services around 500 individuals across LA County and Orange County. We appreciate the opportunity. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I think I'm on the wrong item, but I apologize.
We're on item 5, equitable access to health care. Is that what you want to talk about?
No, I mentioned, I just noticed, the item that we're talking about was...
We're talking about health care for
35.
contract employees.
35.
Oh, okay. That's later. We'll put you back in the queue and get you later. No problem. Okay, next speaker on item 5.
Our next participant is Eric Preven. You may begin. Sorry, Mr. Preven. One moment. Okay, please start again, Mr. Preven.
Yes, I'm happy to clarify what everybody is trying to say. The heart is correct. It's in the right place on this one. Hang on. It's in the right place on this one. But, 30 hours is a very interesting number because millennials, I was reading, work a lot of freelancey jobs. And I'm just worried that people are going to be suddenly not able to get so many hours. And it's because the nasty employers are going to be like, perfect, 29 and 9. They're going to lock everybody out of 30 hours. Now, I know about this because I'm a longtime enthusiast for swimming, and at the local YMCA, I uncovered a horrible, stinking mess that Nuri Martinez, Sheila Kuehl, Mitchell Englander, Paul Krikorian, all these guys are feeding at the Greater Metropolitan YMCA, who does this exact practice with the lifeguards. So I almost burst into tears when I think of the firefighters who come down to the county to get mental health care, and our lifeguards at the YMCA who are the same kids that can't get any hours to get any benefits. So we have to fight the fight across the board. County USC is such a beacon of health. Let me finish it up. All right, fine.
No, you got it. Bye. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is West Sigmiller. You may begin.
Hi, I'm calling because basically all of the people that were terminated because of the vaccine mandate for contracted workers need to be rehired and with back pay, and that's true for all of the LA County employees that were fired because of the vaccine mandate.
This is about health care. This is about item 5, health care for contracted employees.
All right, I understand. Yeah, this is related to item 32, but workers.
No, thank you.
It still stands for
Moderator,
contracted
make sure
work.
we got people. This is
Okay.
item 5.
All right, if you are not queued up for item 5, you may press 10 again to remove yourself from the queue and queue up later for the correct item. The next in queue will go now to participant is Roy Humphreys. You may begin.
Okay, thank you. One of the critical issues here, as per Supervisor Mitchell, and that is the idea of the horrendous budget cuts. And none of you, including your predecessor, has the intestinal fortitude, better known as guts, to stand up to the people and say, hey, you want to live in the 21st century, or do you want to live on the slippery slope of the third world? And put it out there for the people, pay the taxes, pay the property budget issues for bond issues, or kick the supervisors out and get some people in there who will do the right thing on the fiscal money management situation. Thank you.
I have no idea if that was on this item, but next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Adolfo Brandos. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Adolfo Granados, SKU Local 721 Treasurer, LA County employee for over 24 years. It's fitting that this victory is taking place during a time when we honor the lives of Martin Luther King Jr. and Cesar Chavez. Their legacy reminds us that often in this country, it is the black and brown people that who have tirelessly fought for justice, our brothers, sisters, and siblings. USWW fought for years to obtain access to affordable health care. Even before the pandemic, they were raising the alarm about the dangers of working hospital settings and no access to reasonable health care. USWW members who work at LA County health care facilities have finally won affordable health care after years of fighting. Health care is a human right. No one should have to do without the care they need. These people help our county hospitals run every day, but the pandemic was no exception. They are security, environmental services, and food service workers provide.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking on the item. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Hector Ramirez. You may begin.
Good morning, buenos dias. I want to speak in support of this particular motion, and I really want to thank both the chair and the Supervisor Hill for advancing this motion to really try to curb the way in which county public dollars may drive poverty, inequity-seeking populations in Los Angeles County. This would really help to strengthen both our workers and the communities they live in, but also to really improve the quality of services that Los Angeles citizens like myself can get from such agencies. I applaud this direction and really look forward to see how the Board of Supervisors can continue to do more work in this line of reducing poverty for equity-seeking communities in LA County. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going in person. David, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And I just want to say first, just start with my thank yous and tell the board, each and every one of you, thank you for this vote today. I want to particularly thank Supervisor Solis. This has been a series of small victories to get to the bigger victory. It's the beginning of the pandemic, and we all know this. These workers are essential, but they were essential before the pandemic ever started. But through the course of that pandemic, you were there each and every time that there was a crisis to step up for us, and thank you for that. Chairperson Hahn, I want to thank you again for being a champion. And you know what I mean by again, because you've done this once before with us to provide health care at our LAX airports, and now for the food service, security officers, and the EVS workers that are so essential to this job. I also want to thank 721 President David Green for giving his voice in support of this. We know that insourcing is the best way to go, but when their workers are outsourced, these should be good jobs, not bad jobs. And last of all, I want to thank the members, the workers, the EVS workers, the security officers, the food service workers. They are the champions of today. They've been fighting for this for years, and thank you to them for the work that they do each and every day to take care of our most needed in the County of Los Angeles. With that, I'll pass it to
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
My name is Anthony Thomas. I'm a security officer at Harbor UCLA Medical Center. I would just like to thank Supervisors Hahn, Lilly, actually all of them, taking the time to hear. My mother used to say that a closed mouth doesn't get fed, and just, we feel like I'm representing the 2,000 plus.
In the County of Los Angeles. With that, I'll pass it to our
Thank
brother,
you.
Anthony.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Thomas. I'm a security officer at Harbor UCLA Medical Center. And I would just like to thank Supervisors Hahn, Solis, actually all of you, for taking the time to hear us. My mother used to say that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And we feel like I'm representing the 2,000 plus employees that are contracted and work at county facilities. And we're the front line of the front line. And we just want to thank you for hearing us. We feel that we deserve employer-paid health care because we feel like we are assets, and we feel like we've committed to serving the county on a day in and day out basis. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Buenos días, mi nombre es María Blanco. Desde hace 14 años trabajo como janitor en el hospital LUSC Medical Center. Tengo padres de tercera edad y es muy que depende de mí, de mi sueldo, que apenas cubro los gastos básicos de cada mes, más ahora que todo sube el precio a diario.
Hello, good morning. My name is Maria Blanco. It has been 14 years that I've been working as a janitor and cleaning in the LAC USC Medical Center. My parents are seniors and they depend on me for me to pay the wages, and I barely can make ends meet, even more so now that prices have gone up.
Soy diabética y hace años traté de pagar un seguro médico para tratarme. Sin embargo, tuve que cancelarlo porque no podía hacer los pagos mensuales de $200 más los costos de los medicamentos.
I am diabetic, and it has been years that I've tried to pay medical insurance to cure myself. However, I'd had to cancel it because the monthly payments were of $200 and I couldn't afford the medicine.
Y hasta el día de hoy mi único recurso es ir a la sala de emergencia. Solo en el último año he ido 3 veces porque he tenido que esperar hasta el último momento.
And ever since then, my only resource is to go to the emergency room. And I've only been able to, in the last year, I've gone 3 times, and that's my only resource.
Lo irónico que trabajando tantos años en el sector de salud es no tener protección médica, y por eso estamos aquí todos nuestros compañeros.
The irony is that working so many years in healthcare, we don't have medical protection, and that is why myself and my colleagues are here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Red Chief Hunt, welcome.
Yes, Red Chief Hunt. We have to pay to play. In 2007, we did $15 an hour, Madam Chair. Pay these people, man. We have to pay to play. Let's get them what they need. Red Chief Hunt, I vote.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
All right, so this is simple. Want to first say thank you, Hanz Solis, for doing the right thing. I usually don't give compliments well, credit is given when credit is due. So 100% healthcare is a start, but still is a long way to go, because a lot of these healthcare workers still need help with housing. They still need help with programs for the youth. But this is at least a good start. So if they have to go to the hospital, get emergency care, then they'll do so. All right, so let's keep on the right track and have more support for hardworking labor workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another speaker in person?
Those are all the speakers, Madam Chair.
Okay, do we have now before us, colleagues? I will move, seconded by Supervisor Solis, to approve this item. Executive Officer, please call the roll.
Item 5 is before you. Supervisor Solis.
Aye.
Supervisor Solis, aye. Supervisor Mitchell.
Aye.
Supervisor Mitchell, aye. Supervisor Horvath.
Aye.
Supervisor Horvath, aye. Supervisor Barger.
Aye.
Supervisor Barger, aye. Supervisor Hahn.
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn, aye. Motion carries 5-0.
I really want to thank you for this particular approach to improve services for my peers in my community, and definitely for our staff. But I also really want to highlight that one of the reasons that we have so many folks really struggling to stay in DMH or come work for DMH is we really do have a very stigmatized internal culture. We have great staff, but very demoralized workforce that has worked really hard. Their previous director used to refer to our department as a junkyard. So, I mean, that really kind of hinders how bad things were for our employees, which are great. So really thinking in retention to also look to see how the environment inside has really been impacting their health and how they provide services. We have great folks, but we also have folks that, met minimum requirements that shouldn't be there and makes things really hard for all of us.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Anthony Aranus. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Anthony Arenus from District 3 and with the Justice LA Coalition, and I want to applaud the LA County Board of Supervisors for prioritizing the need for an alternative to LA's current crisis response system by implementing this motion to increase recruitment and retention for alternative crisis response positions, and these individuals serve as an essential role in responding to mental health crisis and deserve to be compensated as such, and also in searching for funding to improve recruitment and retention of mental health professionals. I really think that the county should reallocate money away from the Sheriff's Department and into community-based mental health models. Lack of funding is no excuse. This year, the county is allocating over $3 billion to the sheriffs and $1 billion to the probation. I'm more than sure that some of these funds can be repurposed. And considering the reductions in incarceration if individuals are provided with supportive services, this will eliminate the need for such obscenely large sheriff and probation budgets, which can instead be used to staff LA's alternative crisis response.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Dr. Charles Musgrove. You may begin.
Good morning, supervisors. Thank you for this opportunity to speak and for your motion. My name is Dr. Charles Scott Musgrove, and I serve as a clinical psychologist, too, with the LA County Department of Mental Health in the Emergency Outreach Bureau. I'm a member of SEIU Local 721, and I'm calling on behalf of my colleagues to stand in support of Item 7. During my 11 years with the department, I have seen the exponential growth of the number of those in need of our emergency mental health services, yet the appropriate staffing levels have been increasingly out of reach for several years. LA County needs to increase service delivery on the front lines in the form of alternative crisis response, helping those in crisis, the unhoused, the chronically and severely mentally ill, as well as family-centered supportive services in the foster care system. We strongly support Item 7, and which would provide a great deal of relief to an overtaxed behavioral health care system. We look forward to our continued partnership with the Department of Mental Health, personnel, Supervisors Hahn and Barger in helping to bring the much-needed staff to address the current and pressing needs of the communities we serve. Again, thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
They're not spending it. It's easy for things to slip away. The problem is, of course, these are not, we can dress them up, but these are hard jobs. Going into the ground zero where the difficulties are taking place on the street is such a hard job. I worked as a mental health worker in an upscale mental health facility, and there was a lot of burnout among my colleagues.
You wonderful ladies. I am in agreement with Item 7 and hoping that it gets the employees that it very much deserves.
This that was in the community already rendering the service. So I'm just mad, and I'm in full support of number 7 today as far as looking out for the people that's helping people that's going through mental crisis, because we all know you can't get well in a cell, but what I also know to be true is you could develop mental health disorders by sitting in the cell. I know that because I've seen it firsthand. I spent 29 years inside. So thank you for bringing this up and getting this done. It's well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in. Okay, I believe we're going in person now for the next speaker.
We're talking about mental health services.
quote, was justice served? In regards to Brandenburg versus Ohio, 395 U.S. 444, 1969, 830, N. And why do I say that? Because the psychiatric mobile response teams do not respond to the need of people suffering from mental health. And all this language and moratorium bullshit is a clear design of a service fraud. It's a service fraud. Now, if there was hope, there was eligibility, and the criteria would meet everyone's need, America would be safe. But the fact that we know lunacism, like Mark Ridley Thomas, Uncle Tom, asshole, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Good morning.
Dr. Geneviève Clavol.
Good morning.
I'm very much in favor of that item, and I want to thank you, Supervisor Hahn and Barger, to emphasize that issue. You know, we have been trying for the last few years to get therapeutic.
Uncle Tom, asshole, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Good morning.
Dr. Geneviève Clavol.
Good morning.
I'm very much in favor of that item, and I want to thank you, Supervisor Hahn and Barger, to emphasize that issue. You know, we have been trying for the last few years to get therapeutic transport really up to par, and that's the thing we really need to work to make that happen, and I'm glad to see a step to make that happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Supervisors. Chris Regan with the Union of American Physicians and Dentists. We represent physicians, psychiatrists, dentists, veterinarians, and pharmacists. We appreciate Supervisor Hahn and Barger bringing this motion, and we support it. Psychiatrists have the highest vacancy rate in this county. We would like to point out, though, an important recruitment tool is through better benefits, such as Megaflex. Psychiatrists have 20 to 30% lesser benefits, health care retirement plan than every other county employee. This is not a way to recruit and retain physicians. We look forward to fixing the situation. We look forward to finally meeting with Lisa Wong to talk about recruitment that UAPD has partnered in the past with the department. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for raising that issue. And Ms. Davenport, we want to make sure that you look at what he was talking about as well in terms of county benefits, for especially for psychiatrists. And we will make sure we encourage Dr. Wong to meet with you to talk about recruitment. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Robert Dobbs. I'm with Local 3511, Mental Health Clinical Supervisors. Thank you for this motion. I want to say I like the financial incentives. I think that's a good start, and I also like that they have self-care, like the sabbaticals written in there, because this is very hard work. These clinicians do, and you know, they do need self-care. I'm part of a team in the department which is trying to help PMRT look how they can do the job better, and we've done a survey. I did want to point out their number one response for why they do the work is they feel they're providing a valuable resource to the community. Very committed to that. They have noted, as one supervisor brought up, the need for resources like housing, substance abuse, and access to psychiatrists. And they've also addressed the need to improve culture in that unit. And I'm a proponent of just culture. We've got a ways to go in our department. Also want to say, as a union person, we would like to partner and help do this better.
Great. Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
Mike Greenspan. Some of your words here, field-based positions. Didn't our School of Social Work, where you gave that wonderful, lucrative contract to, say that that's a racist term? You're supposed to use the term practicum? Just wanting you to be politically correct. Now, years ago, Uncle Herbie with LA thought that Mr. Herman ought to go get mental health. So he told the city council, he'll go and visit Dr. Hugo. He just needed to borrow a shovel from the Union goons at DWP to dig up his grave. You see, my parents tried to send me to Dr. Hugo, a crackpot Jewish psychiatrist. And, oh, a married man in love, and he committed suicide. Why would that happen? Yes, your be-all, end-all psychiatrist. Well, he was in love, all right, with the other woman, and she rejected him. So, folks, be careful about the crackpot Jewish psychiatrists you have for mental health. We really don't need them. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
So this position been applied to before under MRT at the time with Dr. Jonathan Sharon. The question is the application process when we turn it in. Are you going to do another MRT Sharon, toss it in the trash? Are we going to do a Kathleen Austria, Mary Conway Wickham, toss it in the trash? We have lived experience, especially in District 2, a lot of women that wants this position, right? So don't be discriminatory and don't be complex with the application process. So we have Herschel Pogue, Amanda Walker, Adriana Williams, Vinico Martin, Tanisha Stewart, Tamron Jenkins, just a few names of women that would like to apply for this job. But again, this looks like a good agenda now, but when we go behind the scenes, are you going to instruct your staff to not talk to us, to not process an application? Dr. Lisa Wong, directly, we tried to meet with her on several occasions on this agenda before you have it on the agenda. So let's be transparent with the process. We're going to submit to you plenty of people to fill that seat. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Yes, hello, supervisors. I'm Wanda Solomon. I'm interested in saving our seniors, and I'm with Single Parents of America. I just concur with all of the comments, and I want you to know that I am in process of training for a peer specialist, and I do want to help all I can in the community and connect with DMH. I'll be speaking further later in public comment.
Thank you very much. I believe that's the end of our public comment. So item 7 is now before us. I will move, seconded by Supervisor Barger, to approve this item. Executive Officer, please call the roll.
Item 7 is before you. Supervisor Solis.
Aye.
Supervisor Solis, aye. Supervisor Mitchell.
Aye.
Supervisor Mitchell, aye. Supervisor Horvath.
Aye.
Supervisor Horvath, aye. Supervisor Barger.
Aye.
Supervisor Barger, aye. Supervisor Hahn.
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn, aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we're going to now move on to for members of the public on the telephone. Please press 1 then 0 now to comment on this item. And we're very pleased to have with us this morning, we have Dean Logan, Registrar Recorder, County Clerk, and we have our esteemed County Assessor, Jeffrey Prang, who are here and would like to make some comments. I'm going to make some comments, and then supervisors, if any of you would like to make a comment, and then we'll let Mr. Prang and Mr. Logan say a few words as well. Last year, through a motion that I authored with you, Supervisor Barger, the Registrar Recorder launched an online candidate statement pilot program that provided candidates who run for office during the primary and general election cycles with the opportunities to submit electronic candidate statements for online publication at no cost. During the 2022 primary election, we had 50 of the 58 LA County candidates participate in the pilot to submit an online candidate statement. That included the offices of Supervisorial Districts 1 and 3, the Sheriff, Judge of the Superior Court, and the Assessor. During the last election cycle, candidates running for Supervisor
is having local forums. I had a big fight with your lovely Department of Neighborhood Empowerment people, but finally prevailed, and we would have at our local library meetings of the judges. So I met dozens of judges, which is why I'm so good at suing the county and the city. But honestly, it's a great, they were desperate for a way to reach constituents, and constituents were curious, why are these guys running for judge? And, you know, and Prang, nobody's better than Prang at pushing out notices through the assessor's website just around election time, without any content about election, just to remind you of what a great man he is. And he is a very, very great assessor. He's been there covering up for Noguez for 10 years now, and it's just fantastic. So thank you, and this is really a great accomplishment. Thank you. I hope we can do more in this space.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Yes, Wanda Solomon with Saving Our Seniors. I think this is a wonderful way of looking at elections. I've worked for the registrar for the polls, and I want to make sure that we keep the printed paperwork available for our seniors. They're not computer savvy. So as a matter of fact, I'm still learning too. So I concur and think that this would be a wonderful way for the elections to, I hope to be a write-in candidate myself coming up in the future. And I'd like to continue, I will support the online, but I'd like to continue to see the printed ballots available. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
There were 2 in-person speakers. Are they available?
Okay. Are there any speakers on the phone?
No, there is 1 speaker on the phone.
Okay. Go ahead.
Our next participant is Octavia McLean. You may begin.
No, I'm not for this item. I'm for 35.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Is there any other speaker on the phone for item 9?
To comment on item 9, press 10, please. Madam Chair, there are no speakers in queue.
Okay. And you want to come and speak and just give us your title? Like, just say it for all of us? Okay, well, you would...
beds so that people with mental health needs can get treatment in the community. And I'm aware that ODR is still working to fill those beds, but we do have them available. Those who are not come with complications, and unfortunately, what we have now is the criminalization of mental illness. We penalize via incarceration those who weren't able to receive adequate mental health services in the community. We have people entering in and out of homelessness, cycling in and out of our jails, filing our already crowded emergency departments and our jails becoming de facto mental health facilities. None of this, as you know, promotes public safety, rehabilitation, or recovery. And that's why today's motion, I believe, is necessary. This item is a follow-up to a motion that you, Madam Chair, and I did back in September of last year, which the board at the time unanimously approved. Following that, the motion was a report back that was provided by JCOD, DMH, DSH, CEO, County Council, on an actionable plan for the board to approve so that we can develop an alternative for those who are incarcerated that will instead focus on their treatment first for their mental health need. Currently, the individuals this motion is focusing on, there are really 2 choices. There is a bed in a secure mental health facility, and they will meet criteria. The judge, if they agree, can have the patient serve their time there. Unfortunately, there is a long waiting list to access one of these very limited beds. And sadly, family members have often been discouraged and frustrated by the lack of secure beds and grieve that their loved ones had to go to jail instead. The other option, which we're familiar with too, is a cell in the county jail, which is no place for someone with a mental health need to be met. We need to build out more comprehensive continuum of mental health care in the community and jail, and that should also be a part of this plan. Ensuring we have more secure facilities that are focused on rehabilitation and treatment is far better than what we have now, the criminalization and penalization of mental illness. Per the recommendations from our health departments, we're starting with an initial plan to build out 500 secure mental health beds, and will continue to grow and expand that. This too, however, also requires cooperation from some of our external partners, like our courts. The court also is accountable to the public. It needs to keep safe, and it is the ultimate decision maker on whether someone will go to jail or
affordable housing sites for them, if you believe that. Let's also be mindful that this problem does not exist in a vacuum. We need to take care to avoid decisions
that may exacerbate other crises that the county is facing. Realistic response, you are in queue. Decarcerate through this build-out of continuum is needed to ensure we are not unintentionally adding to our population of the over 60,000 unsheltered Angelenos. Above all, we have an obligation, if not a duty, to make sure that this is done with public safety in mind. Safety of those in the community and the safety of those we are welcoming back to our community. Also deeply concerned that what will happen if we don't come into compliance with the settlement agreements that are in front of us. The threat of receivership is very real for us. We have an obligation to our community's public safety, an obligation to our federal mandate, and an obligation to provide humane treatment for people who are incarcerated. I want to thank you, Supervisor Hahn, and respectfully ask my colleagues to support this item. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And as the co-author, I'd like to say thank you for this. And I know, Supervisor Barger, you've been talking about this forever. It's been a huge issue, particularly as we attempt to come into compliance. But really, this is really a humane thing to do. You know, we've got people in our jails who have serious mental health needs, serious. And they are not getting the help or the care that they need in our jail. And, you know, to be honest with you, our deputy sheriffs who are assigned to our jail, certainly it's not something that they have been trained in on how to treat people who have severe mentally ill challenges. So this is really important. And as you said, we're asking for 500 secure mental health beds for this population, those who are severely ill. And I think this is something to highlight. There's been a lot of concern recent days and how we are going to move people from our jails. But, you know, this is those with severe mental illness, including those who are on conservatorship, those who have been deemed incompetent to stand trial, and those not on conservatorship. So just want to let everybody know that the courts will not allow us to divert this population unless it is to secure mental health beds. And I think that is something I really want to highlight for the public who are listening today. We're not releasing these folks into communities, you know, and just hoping they'll do okay. No, these are secure, you know, clinical mental health beds, but it's not carceral. So these are not going to be jails, but they will be locked facilities. And I know really people have been waiting for this a long time. 500 beds is just a start. We need a lot more than that. But I appreciate us bringing this forward. And again, this is following up on a motion that we did last year, asking for a report back on a plan to get these most severely mentally ill persons in our jails into these secure mental health treatment facilities. So this is just saying, here it is. We know what we need to do. Now we need to do it, and let's start with 500 secure beds. So thank you. We need to hold ourselves accountable to this to make sure we reach this this goal. And again, to me, it's just a start, and we need a lot more. So thank you. And I have on the queue Catherine, Ms. Mitchell, Ms. Horvath. In that order.
Thank you, and I think this motion is an important action toward providing individuals in the county's care with the necessary treatment they deserve, and we are constitutionally obligated to provide. And we've had Dr. Belovich come and talk to us about the challenges that he faces with the physical structure, let alone the need for individuals to work there to help. But there's no question we can do better, but quite frankly, we have to do better. Dr. Belovich shared about 6,800 or 47% of the inmate population are enrolled in some sort of mental health program. The P3, P4 population makes up about 12% of that total. We have a growing population of mentally ill inmates. while we are also trying to comply with provisions of the Department of Justice consent decree. We cannot continue to turn a blind eye on this population, and I know that my office has been present and talked to the monitor and been in court and listened to what was being presented. The frustration is not only the services we're providing inside our jail, but the fact that we talk diversion, but we don't have beds to divert to. And so the question is, what are we doing? I mean, it's not an either or, it has to be an and. Excuse me, Madam Chair, can you ask the audience?
Yes, those of us who are helping us out here in the audience, can you please make sure people understand they can't yell from their seats?
Thank you. So when we look at what we're doing, we have to build capacity, both outpatient, I mean, for those that are not going to be maintained in our facilities, but also look where those beds are going to be. And the courts have been somewhat critical of the fact that we talk it, but they don't feel that we are necessarily walking it right now. So I think this is an incredible step in the right direction. We need a holistic approach to adequately and humanely address the needs of our mentally ill inmates. I am supportive of reform and looking at options for community-based care settings where appropriate. But understand, this, we talked about IMD waiver. This is not going to fall under the IMD because these individuals are in our custody. And we don't get reimbursed for Medicare. We're not going to get reimbursed for mental health. So we can't. There's no excuse for us not to move forward with this. And when you look at the overcrowding in our jail right now, it highlights the fact that we have to do more, sense of urgency. And I am truly glad that we are finally stepping up and establishing a secure mental health bed for the P3 and P4 population, which is absolutely needed as soon as those soon those individuals will no longer be languishing in our jails waiting for services, but we can't forget about the populations that remain. Well, this motion is a strong first step, and I am so grateful because it's something that I've been pushing for years, and I'm glad that it's here today. But we still need to do more with the remaining inmates who are unable to divert and absolutely need mental health services. It's, again, not an either or for me. It's that we need to address the fact that men's mental jail does need to be torn down. And the question is, given the overcrowding right now and the fact that we have diversion in place, what are we going to do to address those that cannot be put in diversion programs? I believe we cannot continue to fail people with serious mental illness in our jails because of any sort of rhetoric, just like we are failing those in the streets because they have the freedom to choose whether they want to get help. I'm truly pleased that we as a board are acknowledging the fact that we have a shortage of secure mental health beds for a variety of populations. This acknowledgement is a great step to a long overdue action to address the mental health continuum of care for the seriously mentally ill on our streets and in our institutions. And I hope this can be a building block toward creating a permanent solution that ensures humane mental health care for all residents, not just for some. And I would add that I want to thank Supervisor Mitchell, who is part of CSAC and NACO. This has been a priority for both state and federal, and your voice has been instrumental in driving this discussion at the state and the federal level as it relates to addressing the fact that we talk about unfunded mandates. We're providing the care no matter what. But there are roadblocks up in terms of how we get reimbursed. And so I think that it's important for us not to forget that while this is going to be 500 beds that are going to be net county, we have an opportunity to build a robust system in our communities that will actually prevent people from ending up in our jails because they'll be having access to adequate mental health care that they not only need, but they deserve. So thank you both for bringing this motion forward. Thank you.
Well said. I have Supervisor Mitchell and then Supervisor Horvath.
Thank you very much. Again, I want to applaud you all and the departments for your hard work in bringing this motion forward. I fully support
the 500 beds that are going to be net county cost. We have an opportunity to build a robust system in our communities that will actually prevent people from ending up in our jails.
Again, I want to applaud you all and the departments for your hard work in bringing this motion forward. I fully support the Care First spirit of the motion because it's clear that we need to respond to the inhumane conditions in our men's central jail with immediate, short-term, intermediate, and long-term strategies, and certainly expanding access to beds is important. I appreciate the authors removing some of the homeless funding provisions, which gave me cause for pause. It's concerning that if we get into this position where we're kind of taking from Peter to pay for Paul, so I appreciate that. I note in the motion, I'm clear that we are really cutting some of the red tape and giving some of the departments greater flexibility to do more in terms of the expanding of these beds and the contracting process. I note that it says including a listing of existing funding available, so I hope that we're able to review that. And I note that it also states that we're going to strongly encourage our legislative affairs and intergovernmental relations branches to work to secure additional state and federal funding. And I hope that the five of us lean into that as well. I know we've got both Sacramento and DC chips coming forward. And if we're going to be able to do this and do this well, to really lean in hard on our state and federal partners to help us identify funding to do so. So I think we should add it to our list of things that we're going to talk about when we go to those two places to get the money, to make sure that we're able to do this well and have an ongoing funding source to pay for these critical beds. That's my only concern. I'll be supporting the motion. Again, want to emphasize we've got to find the resources to pay for it and to continue to pay for it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for emphasizing that. Supervisor Horvath.
Thank you. For many years now, this county has been grappling with complex issues that challenge long-standing assumptions of what it means to prioritize public safety. Long before I joined this board, the inclination was to replace Men's Central Jail, for example, with a new massive jail. But in the midst of those discussions, this board embraced a different approach grounded in community-based treatment and services. In doing so, this board pushed back against the misguided notion that community safety is achieved simply by locking human beings in cages or by rebuilding an 8th jail when 7 others remain in existence in LA County's jurisdiction alone, and even more throughout the county that are outside our jurisdiction. The concept of alternatives to incarceration took hold and became the foundation of this board's commitment to Care First, Jail Last, a vision that I proudly share with my colleagues as I join them to do the hard work it will take to truly achieve community wellness and safety for all county residents. Many incarcerated individuals, especially those in the pretrial population, can be safely released from jails if we provide them with supportive, safety-focused services tailored to their individual needs. The Justice, Care, and Opportunities Department is working to establish programs to provide such services to the pretrial population. Among the individuals who present with acute mental health needs, roughly 60% can be diverted to community-based treatment in an open setting. Our Office of Diversion and Reentry has had tremendous success with this population, and this board recently approved funding to expand those beds by 750. And my understanding is that ODR is on track to have those beds up and running by the end of this year. I understand the reluctance of some of our community stakeholders that they feel about relying on secure community beds to depopulate our jails. The last thing we want to do is substitute a locked jail bed with a locked treatment bed if that's not necessary. We have learned that we also can't rely on our jails to treat our most acutely ill residents. It's untenable to conclude that individuals who are too acute to qualify for release through ODR have no other option but to remain in jail. The DOJ is demanding us to take action, and we can't keep kicking the can down the road if we want to retain jurisdiction over our own county facilities. On any given day, there are approximately 1,500 individuals in the P3 and P4 levels of care in the jails. By starting with a modest inventory of 500 secure beds, we can ensure that only the most gravely ill among those 1,500 are placed in secure beds while ODR continues as an option for the rest. I will support today's motion as one of many care and treatment approaches we must implement to safely depopulate the jails. At the same time, I look forward to continuing the hard work of implementing programs and services along all points in the sequential intercept model and for all individuals who can be safely diverted from county jails. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Mitchell?
If I may, Madam Chair, I would just ask if the CEO could consider giving us a report back during the final changes for the 23-24 budget on how you would expect that we would accomplish the goals of this motion in concert with our Care First agenda.
Yes, thank you, Supervisor. So we can provide a report back. The question is whether we will have all of the information that we needed. We've already started working with the departments. There is an analysis that needs to be done. I'm not sure if we will be able to get it done by final changes, but if it is complete, then by all means we could do a report back and final changes.
I appreciate that. I think that just allows us to track where we are in the current year budget, just to have a sense of that analysis would be very helpful. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Madam CEO.
Thank you. No other supervisors want to make remarks right now, but it's early. Executive Officer, please call the members of the public who've signed up to speak on this item.
Will the following individuals please come forward? Adrian Macia, Ambrose Brooks, Brian Smith, Diego Rodriguez, Dr. Critical Truthbay, Hanz Johnson, Herman, James Takamatsu, Janet Asante, Nancy Rodriguera, Patricia McAllister, Red Chief Hunt, Rem Nunez, and Wanda Solomon. Moderator, may we have the first remote speaker, please?
Our first participant is Linda Strassal. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. This is Linda Strassal from District 5. As a member of the NAMI Greater LA County Criminal Justice Committee, I wish to thank Supervisors Solis and Hahn for your important motion, which calls on the county to move forward with the development of secure mental health facilities to depopulate the LA County jails, transitioning incarcerated individuals with serious mental illness from jail custody to a clinical, therapeutic, secure environment in the community.
Thank you. Your time is expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Brittany Weisman. You may begin.
Hi, I'm Brittany Weisman, a 10-year mental health and housing advocate and also an LA County mental health commissioner, here to thank Supervisors Solis and Hahn for this thoughtful motion, prioritizing mental health care for people who are seriously mentally ill and also justice impacted, and moving the county forward in Care First, Jail Last. To do this Jail Last, Care First, we need alternatives like non-correctional caregiving settings just like this to create flow in the system. People won't get well in a cell, but the intrinsic purpose of a non-correctional mental health bed in a community setting is care. And a secure non-correctional health bed like this is treatment in theory and reality, not punishment, and it also supports our promise to step individuals down from justice involvement and locked settings when possible. It will produce recovery and healing for the individual, and thereby also our collective community recovery and healing. These new beds are a vital component of a fully funded, robust continuum of care. And
your time is expired. Thank you. Your time is expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Deana Stanely. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Deana Stanely. I'm representing our Executive Director, Eric Vasquez, from Justice for Youth. We want to thank Supervisor Solis for her motion, along with Supervisor Hahn as a co-author, to expand mental health continuum of care so that we can safely depopulate those with serious mental illnesses from our jail. I also want to thank the entire board for so much discussion today on creative ideas to address mental health. Our position with this item is that people with serious mental health needs cannot heal and recover in a jail setting. In fact, as a gentleman mentioned earlier, we know that jails are more often contributors to mental health or cause their existing conditions to become worse. The county must continue its commitment to Care First by placing them in a treatment-based facility where they can actually have a chance to improve instead of languishing in the jail setting. This is why Justice for Youth fully supports the mental health motion to provide non-carceral and a more therapeutic place for them to be. By emphasizing their care first, we give those living with mental Thank you. Your time is expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Belinda Bresnahan. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Belinda Bresnahan. I am with the Wellness Center. With close to 30,000 community members who are part of our programming, we have learned that mental health, food access, and health care are the highest needs in our community. We want to thank Supervisor Solis for her motion with Supervisor Hanz to expand our mental health diverse care facilities so that we can safely deport those with serious mental illness from our county jail. Ensuring that alternatives to incarceration are accessible to even those individuals with serious mental health needs is critical to our humanity. Those living with serious mental illnesses cannot heal or recover in jail settings, and many of those individuals die in horrific settings without dignity. We thank the county for your commitment to Care First initiatives and ask that treatment-based facilities be part of those initiatives. On our campus, LAC USC Medical Center, many of the individuals that get out of jail with serious mental health illnesses cycle between our emergency departments and our...
Your time is expired. Thank you. Your time is expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Missy, who declined to give her last name. You may begin.
Hello. Say today, Board of Supervisors, I submit that it's invalid for you to approve this without having any financial impact known to yourselves or the public. That should be documented. Also, the misuse of Measure H funds, that's not submitted in the revised agenda that the public can see. So what this would have us believe is that every judge who came to a ruling deciding on what the crime was and had the person have due process, every judge's ruling was incorrect. And that then gets to be overridden by the Board of Supervisors, who would then delegate this to some other party to determine where the people should be housed. I challenge that assumption. It would also nullify, basically the rights of citizens for protection from felons. No doubt people have mental health issues. However, if the county isn't able to run the jail based on
Thank you. Your time is expired. Thank you. Your time is expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Christine Parker. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Christine. I'm an LA County resident and constituent of Supervisor Solis's. I just want to thank Supervisor Solis for her motion with Supervisor Hahn. We know that jails are inherently disabling settings, and folks don't get better in these settings, they get worse. It's incredibly important that we depopulate our jails, and this motion offers a concrete step forward towards community integration. That's why I support Agenda Item 24, and thank you again, Supervisor Solis and Hahn, for the important motion. I urge everyone to vote yes.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Jose Asuna. You may begin.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. I want to thank Supervisor Solis and Supervisor Hahn for this motion. My name is Jose Osuna. I serve as Director of External Affairs for Brilliant Corners, and I'm also the 4th District appointee to the Public Safety Realignment Team. I support this motion because it provides for non-carceral and more therapeutic solutions for our community members that are dealing with mental health issues. Incarceration is not the solution for those community members. Unfortunately, many unhoused people with the most severe mental health challenges end up incarcerated in LA County jails. There is a crucial need to expand secure mental health beds and develop secure mental health facilities to depopulate the LA County jails and create safe settings for homeless people with severe mental health challenges. I urge that beds also be attached to resources, and we need to make sure that we are also creating pathways to permanent housing and other supportive services as folks exit not only secure mental health facilities, but also the LA County.
Thank you very much. Your time is expired. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Jennifer Garcia. You may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Garcia with Alma Family Services. I'd also like to thank Supervisor Solis for her motion with Supervisor Hahn to expand our mental health continuum of care to safely depopulate those with severe mental illness from our jails. As it's been stated several times, people with serious mental health needs cannot heal and recover in a jail setting. As we know, they often deteriorate. That's why we're asking that the county continue its commitment to care first by placing individuals in a treatment-based facility rather than creating a cycle between our emergency departments, our streets, and ultimately back into our jails. By emphasizing their care first, we can break this harmful cycle and actually give those living with mental illness a chance to heal. That's why we support the mental health motion to create a non-carceral and more therapeutic place for rehabilitation. So thank you again, Supervisor Solis, Supervisor Hahn, for this important motion. I urge everyone to vote yes. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Etha Perez. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Etha Perez, and I'm representing the Downtown Women's Center. The Downtown Women's Center is proud to be one of the organizations selected by the county to implement programming under Care First Community Investment. People with serious mental health needs cannot heal and recover in a jail setting. In fact, we know jails often cause their conditions to deteriorate. The county must continue its commitment to Care First by placing them in a treatment-based facility where they actually have a chance to improve instead of languishing in a jail setting. And we know that without proper treatment, those who are fortunate enough to make it out often find themselves in a cycle between our emergency departments, our streets, and ultimately back in our jails. By emphasizing their care first, we can begin to break this harmful cycle between our jails and our streets and actually give those living with mental illness a chance to heal. Thank you, Supervisor Solis and Supervisor Hahn, for this important motion. I urge everyone to vote yes.
Thank you very much. We'll now turn to our speakers in the room. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Adrian Macia. I am with Dotson Business.
Your question has been withdrawn. To alert the speaker that you have a question, press 1, then 0.
There.
You are in queue.
County must engage committed care first, placing them in treatment-based facility where they actually have a chance to improve as them legacy in jail setting. Our overseas programs in serving justice involve youth and families. I have firsthand on how many individuals can benefit from mental health care and other supportive services. This is why we support mental health motions providing non-incarceration or more therapeutic place for them to be. By emphasizing their care first, we give those living with mental health illness a chance to heal. Thank you again, Supervisor Solis and Supervisor Hahn. For this important motion, I urge everyone to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Hanz Johnson. I'm a constituent of District 1, and I want to thank my own supervisor, Linda Solis, as well.
And then how many individuals can benefit from mental health care and other supportive services. This is why we support mental health motions providing non-incarceration or more therapeutic place for them to be. By emphasizing their care first, we give those living with mental health illness a chance to heal. Thank you again, Supervisor Solis and Supervisor Hahn. For this important motion, I urge everyone to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Hanz Johnson. I'm a constituent of District 1, and I want to thank my own supervisor, Hilda Solis, as well as Chair Hahn for sponsoring this motion. I have a family member who has experienced mental health crises in the carceral system here in Los Angeles, and I'm here to speak up in favor of this motion. As many supervisors have said and other comments have made, our commitment to care first here in Los Angeles County is running into a serious barrier of capacity. And to echo the Supervisor Barger, this is a very welcome first step that I think can be followed by many other forms of progress.
As long as there is no enjoy life, 42 U.S.C. 1983, fuck you for the record. Fuck all of you in mental health, and fuck the DA, fuck the police, and Little Boozy would say, you're fucking Kirk.
All right.
Thank you very much for that very meta experience of why we need this item. Next speaker, please.
All right. That was a low blow.
Yeah, you can turn it in. Hey, thank you, Ms. Horvath. I will take it from here. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a lot of contradictions here. We want to secure mental health beds. There's at least 2,400 beds available. Trust and believe. Janice Hahn, we presented that to you in Long Beach, right? Lucas Clip went the other way and make sure that we didn't get anything, right? Tyler Cash in Barger's district. And I want to say, Ms. Barger, we need to stop the hypocrisy. There's a lot of opportunity in District 5, Palmdale and Lancaster specifically. Okay, the way that we care about kiddies and money and your brother and money is the same way that you can say, yes, let's open this facility and put these people in. We want to take care of our people that you put in jail. Let's get that straight. It's not you per se, but it's the system you work for, and you know this. So let's work together. Let's stop being hypocrites. You don't have to like me, but you have to work with me one way or the other, because we are in these streets trying to do your job. And if Tyler Cash is a real person, can he at least respond to something? Appreciate you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Chief Red Hunt.
The Red Chief Hunt. 33% of the people are mentally ill. Why don't we divert the money from the county jails to mental health beds? Problem solution. 33% of the people are going through mental illnesses. Let's divert the money again to help. These people need help, not jail cells. The Red Chief Hunt, give me an aye vote on this one.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mike Greenspan, a Bruin butt-kicking Florida Gator. And let me tell you, let's go back a little bit in time. How far are we going back? 2001. Why the person who used to be on the board and now from the 2nd District, Mark Ridley Thomas, got up at the 8th Community Congress District for Council District 8, said everyone needs salvation. Just some people get their salvation at Twin Towers. Now, let's go back to pre-COVID when he was still on the board before he got elected to council, and he was with the Alternatives to Incarceration. Now, isn't that nice? Some people can talk out of both sides of their mouth on the issue, like old Curly. Well, guess what? He's going to go to jail, not to a mental institution, in the care of a crackpot Jewish psychiatrist. He's going to prison. He's going to get his salvation in federal prison, and guess what? I can't wait to see him get sentenced. Yay!
Okay. May I remind you, Herman, no clapping from the auditorium. Thank you. Yes, perfect. We're now going back to the phone. Please call the speaker on the phone.
Recover in a jail setting, in fact, is recognized by many people who have already spoken. They often deteriorate. I applaud and thank Supervisors Solis and Hahn for the proposal to expand mental health care by creating 500 secure mental health beds for P3 and P4 individuals. This proposal will allow humane, safe decarceration and put power behind the implementation of the Care First, Jails Last initiative. I look forward to progress, reports, hopefully in the very near future.
Thank you for calling in. Your next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Kennith Johnson. You may begin.
It's Kenneth Johnson, and I live in the 1st District in the Salvation Army Bell Shelter. And I'm an anti-recidivist coalition ARC member. Thank you, Supervisor Solis, for introducing this motion for mental health beds. I've spent significant years in Los Angeles County jail facilities and paroled from state prison after serving 26 years under nonviolent 3-strike offenses. I support and advocate for expanded mental health facilities as sheriff's deputies and county jail medical staff are not adequately trained for mental health crisis needs. The mental health crisis extends to our homelessness in Los Angeles. I'm also a current VA mental health patient, as I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran, and I also have a BPAN advocate with the challenge coin from Supervisor Solis. I graduated in June, earning my sociology AA degree so that I can further advocate the mental health and system impacted citizens in our Los Angeles County. Thank you, Supervisor Solis. Thank you, Supervisor Hahn.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Cecilia Galvez. You may begin.
Yes, hello. My name is Cecilia Galvez. I'm representing Maternal and Child Health Access in Los Angeles. Thank you, Supervisor Solis and Hahn, for this motion. We need to do a better job at caring for people who suffer from mental illness. Criminalizing them has magnified the mental health and homeless crises in our communities. I live in unincorporated East Los Angeles and witness every day how we are failing this community. As a professional working for a nonprofit dedicated to ensuring access to care for the most vulnerable, I am frustrated and struggle with securing care for people suffering with mental illness that is timely, humane, and effective. Proper non-carceral mental health treatment where care is prioritized will bring those suffering with mental illness closer to healing. Thank you again to both of you, and I thank the entire board and urge you to vote yes.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Shan Hogh. You may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Shan Hogh, and I'm with Californians for Safety and Justice. I want to start by thanking Supervisors Solis and Hahn for this motion to expand our mental health continuum of care so that we can safely depopulate those with serious mental illness from our jail. I'd like to reiterate what has been said by so many today. People with serious mental health needs cannot heal and recover in a jail setting. We know that without proper treatment, our community members with serious mental health needs often find themselves trapped in the cycle of emergency departments, the streets, drug use, and ultimately back in our jails. So this is why Californians for Safety and Justice support this mental health motion to provide a non-carceral and more therapeutic place for our community members to get the support that they need and deserve. We ask all for our vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Deana Alvarez. You may begin.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Diana. I am a resident of the 5th District. I'm also employed in the 5th District. I want to say thank you for writing and considering item 24. I've worked in mental health services for the past 5 years, and I currently work at Crisis Stabilization Center where we seek to stabilize folks on hold. We need more bed placements, especially for our gravely disabled folks and folks with severe mental illnesses. These people are at increased risk of incarceration due to their typical houseless status and increased visibility on the streets. Please consider item 24 while also considering future motions that increase outpatient support and supportive housing for a true continuum of care. And thank you so much for writing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Evran. You may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Evran Arat, and I'm representing Hoveness Inc. I extend my gratitude to Supervisor Solis for her motion in conjunction with Supervisor Hahn to broaden our mental health continuum with the goal of safely depopulating individuals with serious mental illness from our jail system. As the lead agency in SPA 7 serving unhoused and formerly unhoused transition-age youth, we witnessed the significant struggles faced by this vulnerable group, especially those with serious mental health needs. We acknowledge that jails often exacerbate their condition, hindering their healing process. Thus, we believe it's crucial for the county to remain steadfast in its care-first approach by placing them in a treatment-based facility where they can truly have the opportunity to improve rather than languish in a jail setting. Our stance is that it is imperative to provide a non-carceral and more therapeutic environment for these individuals to break the vicious cycle of incarceration in their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Hello? Are you on? Hello?
Mr. Mendoza, your line is open. Please go ahead.
Oh, shoot. You didn't say, I didn't get my name. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Good morning,
yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, both Supervisors. Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you, Supervisors Solis and the rest of the board just for bringing another important motion to the board. As someone that knows what it is to be locked up in this setting, this facility, specifically mental jail, I believe that people with serious mental health issues cannot heal or recover in these types of settings. Everybody has already expressed this, even for someone like me, just for anybody being locked up in this type of settings is very inhumane. So I could just imagine, for those that suffer with real mental health issues, how worse it can be for them. So I think that I really want to commend this board for just continuing to figure out ways to really get to the root cause of ensuring that our incarcerated individuals are getting what they need so they can return safely back into our communities. The last last thing we want is having people that are in our community are not getting the services they need, are not being prioritized individually for their needs, and they end up either homeless or end up being pushed away from organizations that cannot serve them. So it's best that we stop this issue by ensuring they're in the proper setting. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Very much. Thanks for calling. Next speaker, please.
Next participant is Anthony Aranus. You may begin.
It's Anthony Arenus with the Justice LA Coalition and resident of District 3, and I'm also speaking in support of item 24. The county has to make significant and rapid investments in the spectrum of treatment, and that includes unlocked step-down beds, permanent supportive housing, and yes, locked beds run by clinicians, not law enforcement. And this motion is a step in the right direction. And I encourage the county to also prioritize unlocked mental health beds. If we've learned anything from the decades of failed mental health asylums, it's not that it is that they only serve to disappear people and exacerbate the problem. And on its face, this motion seeks to address the urgent need for mental health treatment, but in substance, it fails to address the immediate needs. And you have the power to support the release of people now by expanding existing mechanisms like ODR. Not only does ODR serve the spectrum of mental health needs, it also does so effectively and with judicial buy-in. And the Care First vision is clear. The county has to build a decentralized system of care. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Thank you. Your next speaker, please.
Next participant is Roy Humphreys. You may begin.
Thank you for the 3 cheers for commenter Izzy and Supervisor Mitchell fessing up to where's the money now and in the future, and robbing Peter to pay Paul. In 2019, the Gang of Four votes to quash the $1.7 billion mental health treatment facility, yet they repeatedly cry, woe the mental health persons, how crazy is that? Sheila Kuehl and Supervisor Hilda Solis vote against mental health treatment. Thank God Sheila Kuehl is gone. Supervisor Horvath wants to declare a humanitarian crisis and dump the jails on the communities. Yet this criminal justice condition has existed for decades, a la Gloria Molina and her co-conspirators, who should have gone to federal penitentiary along with Leroy Baca. And once again, 3 cheers for commenter Izzy. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Heather Moore. You may begin.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi. Hey everyone, my name is Heather Moore. I'm on behalf of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I would like to say this is a great motion, and I would also like to share my experience. I was an inmate worker, and so I know firsthand what it's like, but I also want to...
have Christina Galley, Dr. Christina Galley, Director of Health Services, Dr. Barbara Frere, Director of Public Health, will make a presentation, and Captain Brandon Dean with the Sheriff's Department will also make a presentation. Supervisor Horvath, would you like to start this off?
Sure. I appreciate all of you being here today, especially given the set of circumstances we find ourselves in with some pending court rulings. I know this board has demonstrated leadership on this issue already to declare the county's abortion safe haven project. And given the pending rulings, want to make sure we know what that means in practice. On the one hand, we have a U.S. District Judge in Texas deciding whether or not to revoke FDA approval of mifepristone, the first medication given in medical abortions. There's also a case in Washington State where a U.S. District Judge is weighing a lawsuit brought on by the state's Attorney General to remove barriers to access to mifepristone, including FDA regulations. To say we live in uncertain times is an understatement, and for those of us who have the ability to become pregnant, it's anxiety-inducing at best and deadly at worst. One thing is certain, LA County is committed. It is, was, and will continue to be a safe haven for providing abortion. And today we will be hearing from all of you with regard to where we're at sort of in implementing that policy. We would like clarity as to where we stand in light of Texas and Washington cases and how our justice and public safety systems in particular will do just that, work to provide justice and keep people safe. This is why I've asked you all to come here today, so I appreciate you making time to be at the board meeting. So I have a few questions that I hope will sort of set the table, and then please fill in any blanks that you think we're not touching on. So I guess to start with County Council, legally, where are we currently as it relates to these potential rulings? And will these cases, are they likely to be heard by the Supreme Court?
Oh, wait, turn your mic on. There you go. Oh, okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Supervisor Horta. Well, I want to first state that today, mifepristone, which is also known as the abortion pill, is an approved drug, remains an approved drug for medication abortions. And it has been legally prescribed since the year 2000 when the FDA approved it. It is safe and effective. It is widely used in hospitals and clinics throughout the county, including the county's public hospitals. The case that you mentioned in the federal district court in Texas is pending. We don't know when the judge in that case is going to issue his order, and we don't know the contours of any such order. We don't know which way he's going to rule. He has sort of suggested he might grant the injunction. There's also a second case, as you noted, in the Western District of Washington, also a federal district court case, which, if the injunction was granted in that case, could contradict the ruling in Texas. So you have a situation where there could be dueling federal district court injunctions, and that may be a matter that would have to be resolved, perhaps by the U.S. Supreme Court.
And do you, what happens while we wait for the cases to make their way through the courts? Is it legal to prescribe or be prescribed mifepristone?
That's a difficult question because it involves trying to predict what the FDA is going to do in response. Many legal observers have predicted that the FDA is likely to issue a non-enforcement letter. What this means is that the agency would essentially announce that even if it's been ordered to withdraw approval of the drug, it would not enforce a ban on the drug. In other words, it wouldn't be yanking it from the marketplace. And I would expect that if that happens, that the California Department of Public Health, the Attorney General, and other statewide authorities would follow suit and follow the FDA's lead and continue with the policy of non-enforcement in the state of California. There is a law in the state of California, the Sherman Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which does grant authority to statewide prosecutors and also local prosecutors to prosecute violations involving the sale of unapproved drugs. It's certainly possible that in some counties, some district attorneys might, perhaps in a rural county, might seek to enforce a ban on the drug. I would expect in the county of Los Angeles that local authorities would not do such a thing. In fact, I note that the district attorney's office issued a letter yesterday stating that they did not intend to prosecute any violations of law involving distribution or use of mifepristone. So, and I note that the California Attorney General has issued similar statements and in fact supported an amicus brief that was filed with the Texas District Court opposing the plaintiff's effort in that case to issue a nationwide injunction against mifepristone.
Thank you very much. For our Sheriff's Department, what does enforcement look like if mifepristone is ordered off the market? I'm interested, especially given recent reports in the LA Times of the role that the Los Angeles Police Department played, that it was characterized as the abortion squad, endangering women and healthcare providers. And I certainly want to make sure that our department and LA County as a whole is not using our systems to be further endangering people. So if you could talk about what enforcement will or won't look like from the Sheriff's Department perspective.
Sure. Thank you, Supervisor, for having me here. So like my partner from County Council said, we're kind of still waiting for the ruling to see what happens. If it is fully withdrawn and the FDA withdraws it, obviously there is a section in the Health and Safety Code that would make it a violation, a misdemeanor, to have this, like County Council said. At Narcotics Bureau, we don't really focus on stuff like that. We're focusing on what we call the big four: methamphetamine, fentanyl, cocaine, and heroin. We do have what's called the Health Authority Law Enforcement Task Force, which is partners with our health services team here. They are more so utilized to go after unlicensed doctors, dentists, medical malpractice, things like that, overprescribing medications, things like that. So this would more fall under line what our HALT team does. But basically, like County Council said, this isn't something that we are actively going to be pursuing. At this time, based on everything, the appeal process, everything that's going to happen with this, it's not basically feasible for us to dedicate resources to be going after somebody for this misdemeanor violation, which is technically classified as misbranding, which we get very low prosecution to, if any prosecution at all.
Appreciate that. Thank you. And to our fearless leaders from DHS and DPS, in the worst case scenario situation, are we able to stockpile mifepristone? Is that something we're intending to do at this point? And given what we've heard from the sheriff and DA, what will be your policies regarding medication abortion for the county?
Thanks, Supervisor, and thanks for bringing forward the motion. For the Department of Health Services, we currently have about 460 doses of mifepristone in stock, and we're planning on doubling that. Currently, they're in the market. There's robust supply. There's not any challenge in obtaining the medication from the manufacturer. Based on what County Council has indicated, we are still waiting to see what would happen with the courts and what action the FDA would take. And that would impact ultimately whether or not there's limited distribution and ability to access mifepristone in the future. So in the situation in which potentially mifepristone was not available from in United States suppliers, we could look at obtaining supply from out of the country, and that's an option that our pharmacy team is looking at. The other option, once we would have depleted the resources that are available within the pharmacy stock, would be to go to alternative medication regimens. So right now, mifepristone is typically prescribed as part of a 2-drug dose. It's initial drug with mifepristone, and then a second drug is used, misoprostol. And it's possible to provide medication abortions with only the second drug, misoprostol, and there's not currently any court case that I'm aware of about challenging the regulatory authority or approval of that second drug, misoprostol. Now, it's important to note, though, that the 2-drug regimen is more effective in ending up with pregnancy termination. It's over 95% effective, whereas the misoprostol dose alone is less effective, on the order of 2 to 3 times less effective than mifepristone alone. And so that if we did get to the situation where medication abortions had to be prescribed only with the use of that one drug, it would raise the risk that an individual had to move on to going to a procedural or surgical abortion if they were not able to terminate the pregnancy with the medication abortion alone.
And again, thank you so much, supervisors, for always championing the issue around making sure we have not just access to abortion, safe access to abortions, but also the full range of sexual and reproductive health services. And thank you so much, Supervisor Horowitz, for bringing forward this motion. We are working very closely, obviously, with DHS. We are doing we are making 2 additional efforts. The first is we will certify our public health clinics as sites where we're able to now distribute the abortion pills. You know, again, as a 2-pill regimen. Our pharmacy, by getting certified, will also be another place where we can order and make.
Thank you. So I wanted to make mention that the U.S. Supreme Court made it clear that this issue goes down to the states. The state of California, including the governor, makes it clear that this is going to be an abortion state. So that said, I'm concerned that LA County feels compelled to emphasize this. A couple things. This report does not include, it's a verbal report, could be written, it does not include a cost impact. of what's being spent by LA County. It's also concerning that this report is talking about ensuring access by sheriff and DA for abortion. It's concerning in that the majority consistently votes to defund the police and not do anything about the DA's refusal to prosecute crimes. But this seems to be taking the first priority over just basic public safety. I'm not commenting for or against abortion, but I'm saying that I'm consistently concerned about the priorities.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. Next, we're going in person. Okay, go ahead.
Mike Greenspan, the Jew who won't go back to Florida, you Antichrist Catholics. Now that that's been established, first of all, we're getting mixed messages on abortion. We see the AIDS Health Foundation use a condom. Well, that would solve a lot of problems, and it's politically correct to boot. But you know, the reality, using a condom's like taking a shower with a raincoat on, and nobody wants to take a shower with a raincoat on. And then this guy that ran for mayor, RIC KKK Caruso, spent all his life giving to anti-abortion groups. Now he came out in favor of Prop 1 to be mayor. And so he's going to take his name off that church. Well, still on there 4 times. He's another Curly, talks out of both sides of his mouth. Yeah, some idiot mayor actually put that guy on the police commission to chair. Who was that idiot mayor? Oh, Jim Hom, worst fucking mayor. Oh, no! I'm being aborted, you cunt!
Oh, gosh. Next speaker, please.
Patricia McAllister. About 10 years ago in New Jersey, some rabbis and mayors and whatnot, they were arrested. They were selling the aborted baby body parts and adults' body parts. So there's a market out here for selling these babies, these infants out of the womb, selling their body parts, okay? So that's what I'm concerned with. Now, the Supreme Court struck down Roe versus Wade for white women. The white race is dying out. Okay? You're on the web and research it. Scientists have been saying this for years. You're dying out. White women are killing more babies than anybody. That's why they made it a state issue. Okay? So let's talk about that too. Now, the U.S. Census, the U.S. Census says that blacks are not the majority in the United States, and whites are the minority. Now, I worked the census. Anybody not black was categorized as white. So you guys are the minority. You're dying out. They give you about 15 to 20 years. Do your research. I'm a teacher now.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Yes, Wanda Solomon, Single Parents of America. I urge the board to revisit or revise this item and give it careful consideration. In my view, most low-income mothers, women of color, although this is not a racial issue, it does affect low-income mothers and other women of color, and I'm very concerned which way this will go. It's a very dangerous situation to lose a child, any way you look at it. So I advise the board to take another look at this item, please.
Okay, thank you. I believe that's our last speaker. So, colleagues, this report is received and filed. Hearing no objections, that will be the order. We'll now move on to item 35, report on Medi-Cal redetermination, which was held by Supervisor Mitchell. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1, then 0 now to comment on item 35. We have Dr. Jackie Contreras, our Director of Public Social Services, will make a presentation, and Dr. Christina Galli, I think, is also available for questions. Supervisor Mitchell, you want to start us off?
Happy to. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Contreras, for your leadership, and the Department of Public Social Services for their work and your team's work. This is an issue of tremendous importance to our county and to our residents and to our strategic partners, such as community clinics and managed care clinics. Interrupted health care coverage can have devastating health and economic repercussions, and so I'm hoping that my colleagues, board officers, and our teams will be sure to get the word out to our residents to fill out the required forms. So a couple of questions just to kind of level set for us, Dr. Contreras. How many? And again, we find ourselves here because during COVID, the state relaxed requirements on recertifications, and now they're asking us to make sure that Medi-Cal recipients certify. It feels to me like all at once, and so there's a concern that people will lose coverage if they simply, not because their economic situation has changed, it's because they didn't return the report. So question for you, how many LA County residents could potentially lose their Medi-Cal benefits?
So we have 3.7 million Medi-Cal recipients that will go through the renewal process. That is included in 2.1 million cases. So the renewals will be based on those cases. So one could argue that all of the Medi-Cal recipients are at risk of losing their benefits. In my presentation, I will cover our automatic renewal process, which is a little bit of a safety net for those customers, but that's what we're looking at.
Why don't I ask you to go ahead and go through your presentation, because you may answer some of the questions I already have, so we won't be duplicative.
I'm happy to do so.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Supervisors, thank you for the opportunity to discuss my department's efforts to ensure that our customers can retain their Medi-Cal benefits as the public health emergency ends. I want to start by acknowledging that we do this work in partnership with DHS, with DPH, Managed Care Plans, the Community Clinic Association, My Health LA, as well as your offices, SEIU, and numerous community partners and advocates. The Consolidated Appropriations Act of December 29, 2022 ended continuous coverage for those receiving health care through Medi-Cal. And this means that we must resume the renewal process for the 3.6 million LA County DPSS customers who receive this benefit. These customers will begin to receive notices in the mail approximately 60 days before the renewal is actually due. For example, renewal packets are going out in April for renewals due in June. They'll go out in May for renewals due in July, and so forth. It's important to note that the renewals are spread out over a full year from June 2023 to May 2024. And so if we can bring up the first slide. This first chart shows you our overall Medi-Cal caseload in Los Angeles County displayed by supervisorial district. The number we are focused on is the number in blue, which is the number of cases. As I said, a single case or renewal may include multiple individuals. You'll see here that the highest number of renewals is in Soup District 2 at 544,000 plus, and then Soup District 1, nearly 509,000. The total renewals countywide is 2,171,562, and this is the number that needs to be completed over the 12-month period, which is an average of 181,000 per month. So we go to the next chart. The next chart displays a more detailed projection of renewals due each month, starting at June 2023 through the end of the calendar year. You will notice that we expect that at least 66% of the renewals each month will go through the auto renewal process, which is between the state and the federal government. Those numbers are in yellow. If successful, this means that neither DPSS nor the customer will have to take any action, and instead, the customer will receive a notice that their Medi-Cal has been renewed. Based on actuals, we are projecting that roughly 1/2 of those cases will be successfully auto-renewed each month. The next chart illustrates this more specifically, using June 2023 as an example. In June, 183,668 cases are due for renewal, and a large number of them, approximately 121,693, will go through auto renewal. Of that number, we are projecting that 62,587, that's the dark blue, of those cases will successfully be auto renewed, leaving a total of 121,081 customers that will need to complete and return a packet by the due date in June. There has been some concern expressed about the state's low auto renewal rate. We believe this is because some counties stopped sending out renewal packets during the pandemic. Unlike those counties, we kept sending out renewal packets and kept putting our customers through the automatic renewal process. And we did not take any negative action throughout the pandemic. And I credit our team and my predecessor for that decision. And given this, we're reasonably confident that many of our customers remain familiar with the renewal process. That said, we recognize, as has been stated, that this is a critical time for our Medi-Cal beneficiaries and that we have several populations that will need targeted attention. For IHSS consumers, our social workers are disseminating information about this directly to the individuals that they work with, encouraging them to submit the renewal packet should they receive one. Many of them receive SSI benefits, and so the process for them to renew their Medi-Cal must go through Social Security, not DPSS. We are ensuring that information is clear to them. And the state has also texted this information directly to these SSI beneficiaries. DPSS customers that are unhoused commonly utilize our district offices as their mailing address. So when their renewal is due, it will be provided to them when they normally pick up their mail, which occurs at least monthly. We will use this opportunity to remind them to complete their packets and to provide support as needed. We are also sharing information with community providers so they can encourage customers to complete the packet timely. Go to the next slide. Here you will see our collective outreach efforts. The State Department of Healthcare Services, DHCS, is conducting an extensive outreach campaign. We have also been striving to get the word out broadly across our 10 threshold languages about what our customers need to do to continue their Medi-Cal coverage. This has included targeting ethnic and local media, and we are pleased to see that many of them have picked up our news releases. We also posted on our social media platforms, our websites, and we sent out information on our email list, which numbers over 60,000 individuals and organizations. Our experts have also briefed the Community Clinics Association and provided information to them. The Department of Public Health has also been getting the word out about this through their Community Health Outreach Initiative, CHOI. The contractors that they fund through CHOI have been disseminating information about the PHE ending, with a particular focus on encouraging Medi-Cal recipients to keep their case information updated and to submit their renewal packets. They also assist individuals with Benefits Cal, everything from helping them open an account, navigate the portal, and even submitting documents on their behalf. Our key message to our Medi-Cal recipients is this: when you receive your renewal packet, please complete it and either mail it to us, drop it off at any DPSS office, or complete your renewal on Benefits Cal. Fortunately, Medi-Cal does not require an interview, so there is no requirement for a Medi-Cal recipient to call or be seen in person. This is a benefit that not all our programs afford, so I want to make sure that people are aware of this to minimize their waiting on hold unnecessarily. Of course, if folks prefer to talk to someone directly, they can complete the renewal by phone or by coming into one of our offices. We are working hard to manage all 4 of our access points: mail, Benefits Cal, our district offices, and our call centers. We closely monitor these access points to adjust our staffing as indicated, and we will continue to do this during this time. I started this presentation by highlighting some of our critical partners in this effort. I want to end by emphasizing that we will continue to partner closely with our county family, which includes county departments and community partners, to get the word out and to help answer questions. This next slide shows our primary partners. I am grateful for their collaboration on this effort. As you might imagine, the renewal process will be closely monitored by our state partners. They are developing a tracking system that will be shared publicly as to the progress counties are making in getting renewals completed by the due date. We will be sure to share this information with your offices just as soon as it is available. I want to emphasize the level of urgency my department has brought to this. We have been focused on hiring and training staff and community partners. It's our goal to walk our customers through this process as seamlessly as possible. I also want to acknowledge that we know we have work to do to strengthen our partnerships, to influence the utility of Benefits Cal as a vital access point, and to build our relationships with community more broadly. This is work that is built into our strategic plan and that we will continue to move forward as we manage this change in real time. In closing, I'd like to bring up the last slide. which shows in summary the outreach our customers have been receiving. It outlines the process and provides customers with the options they have available to them. Thank you for your time and attention. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much, Dr. Contreras. Two things came up for me as I listened. Why is it that we think half of the auto renewals will fail? Why is that?
So those numbers are based on actuals. We don't have the actuals for June yet. We'll have those in a few days. And so we're at 51%. That has been as low as probably the high 30s, low 40s. And so we're moving it up. Because over the pandemic, customers have not been submitting their information as regularly. There's not been a requirement to do that. The information may not be as accurate. And what has to happen is there has to be a match between the state
perfect
information and
match,
the federal.
name, birth date, all of that.
Matches. In 2019, that number was as high as 65%. So we're holding that out as a goal to get that number up because it's really critical if we can get people through the auto renewal process.
I agree. As hard as it was to fight to get the auto renewal process, I guess I was naive in thinking that the numbers would be higher. I guess my second concern is not only people gotten out of the habit, recognizing the brand new populations that we are now serving through Medi-Cal, who will have not gone through a renewal process at all. That gives me a great deal of concern. State legislation was enacted finally during the pandemic that expanded the universe of those eligible, those who are income eligible but for eligibility status at varying age categories, are now Medi-Cal beneficiaries. Having said that, is there unique messaging and outreach for those populations who are new to Medi-Cal and never had to go through this renewal process? Because that's different than reminding people who have done it historically. So is there a strategy to target that population?
Yeah, so we are getting the information out in our 10 threshold languages. So that's being made, and your offices have copies of that now. That's being made available. Also in our partnerships with, My Health LA and other community partners through DHS, through public health, right? The connections that we have in the community. We're trying to make sure that everyone has access to that information in those specific languages.
But I guess I'm saying it's not just the typical information. This will be a new process for many. So are you not just language, but is there a different strategy or different messaging for people who are new to Medi-Cal who've never had to renew? That's what I'm asking.
I think the level of engagement that we have been focused on in the department to really connect more broadly with the community is what's going to make the most difference. We have work to do. There's no doubt about it. We have work to do in that space. But to get to what you're asking, I think that's really the fundamental work that we need to do.
Got it.
We'll focus on that as well.
Last question from me, Madam Chair, and thank you. What will be for either of you your indicator that we have a problem, that our numbers are not keeping pace, that we need to perhaps shift to another strategy just because far too many people are losing their eligibility? Is there what's the indicator for you?
I hear what you're asking. So we monitor sort of the effectiveness of our system across all of our access points fairly regularly, and so we know that we may have to shift to resources to be able to meet the need, depending if people are coming in the office or calling us or submitting their applications by mail. We know that we need to do that. We are going to be tracking very closely the renewals that are completed. So what happens with a customer, we send out the packets, as I said, 60 days in advance. They get the packet. If we don't hear back from them, we will send out a reminder. If we don't hear back from them again, we'll make a call, and then we'll send out a notice of action. And unfortunately, sometimes that's what gets people's attention, right? You're going to lose your Medi-Cal benefits, and so that is part of the process that we go through. And then we will track very closely, as will the state, the numbers of approvals and seeing kind of where they're at. I'm actually hopeful. I don't think I answered this part of your question earlier about who could likely be impacted. Pre-pandemic, about 20% of folks fell off Medi-Cal. Now, that could be because they got jobs where they have insurance, they moved out of state, there's a ton of reasons, but it could also be because they did not submit their information or that information was not processed timely, right? So we have to keep our eye on that. And so that's some of the information that we'll be tracking on an ongoing basis. I'm actually hopeful that with all of the attention and the focus that we put on this, which I don't know that's happened before, that 20% could actually be lower, so that we don't lose as many folks as we had traditionally.
All right. I appreciate that. You know, audits are points in time that you look in the rearview mirror. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in real-time adjustments to make sure that we can do all that we can to keep people who are enrolled. The cost to government for the churn, if people fall off, reapply, get back on, it's just, you know.
For 2 or more items and 1 additional minute for general public comment. Please state your name and clearly indicate the agenda item numbers you will be addressing. You may only address the board on these items. We will now call in-person speakers, and while they are coming forward, we will take telephonic speakers.
Will Terry Jackson, Janet?
I've been dealing with DCFS for about 8 years now. I was not advised of my rights. I didn't get any due process rights. These lawyers are railroading us. They're not letting us put up a defense. They're not letting us put up evidence. I have my 3 children floating in DCFS custody. My 2-year-old son was just taken from me based on lies from the abuser that strangled me, raped me, broke my little 2-year-old arm. And DCFS is not concerned about that. They are concerned about scratches on my baby's leg and low weight, that the baby had lost the weight at the father's home. And now I'm being framed. And they are weaponizing the hub to do these things. They have not contacted his primary care doctor, his school, and he's around mandatory reporters every day, all day. DCFS is not trying to reunify me with my children. I have asked them, what is it I need to do to get my children home? Do I need to turn my head all the way around? Do I need to click my heels 3 times? Do I need to rub my belly? What is there I need to do? No one can tell me the detriment.
Thank you. Thank you for...
You are in queue.
Our next participant is Jennifer Tracy. Please state the item numbers you are addressing today and whether you'll be addressing in general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Tracy, addressing item 35 in general comment. I am the co-lead for the CalSouth Advocates Group, which represents more than 70 organizations. I've been closely following the development of Benefits Cal for more than 4 years. We recently shared a list of recommendations with the CalSouth Project, which is developing Benefits Cal under the leadership of the counties. Number 1, customers do not have direct access to tech support to set up their accounts. They have to call in to DPSS, wait on hold for however long, and then be referred to tech support. They should not have to jump through hoops to get help with setting up their access to the website. Number 2, customers used to be able to use private personal information to access their Medi-Cal case, but now they have to use an email address. If they don't have one, they can't get in there. Number 3, Benefits Cal does not have the same functionality for CBOs that they need to help people. They can't help people with their renewals through their portal. This is a big problem. LA County has a unique role in oversight for Benefits Cal. They have 3 full votes on the Benefits Cal board, and every other county has less than 1. And DPSS's Bureau Director and Chief Information Officer is the chair of the CalSouth Project Board, and we urge DPSS and LA County to leverage their power to make this system more accessible for people and to prove access for all the community-based organizations that the county and the state is investing in to help people use that system to access services. We appreciate all of the work that DPSS is doing and urge them to do more to make sure Benefits Cal can be accessible for the people that need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Clara Solis. Please state the item numbers you are addressing today and whether you'll be addressing in general public comment. You may begin.
71F on general public comment. Our community group at Eagle, Sydney Humphreys, has long pushed for a park at the property's proposed to transfer to Covina, LA. The community was promised the opportunity to have input on what goes on this property. We are concerned about the transfer of this property using a CEQA exemption for a community garden when 97% of the properties within a 4.5 radius are testing at unsafe levels of lead. This property is located 2.2 miles from Exide. While raised beds can reduce contamination, we are concerned because this property floods and wind can spread contamination. We urge testing of the property and the surrounding properties before committing to a community garden. As you know, half of the properties cleaned by DTSC are now testing at more than 200 parts per million. It is highly likely these properties are being recontaminated by adjacent properties. The proposed project and the community around it are Park 4. The area abutting the property to the south is more than a half mile from the closest park. Ideas that community members are contemplating for a park included native park gardens providing educational opportunities for local children, a community garden, a quiet park for residents who are daily bombarded by noise from the 710 freeway, which is less than 350 feet away, or a park within an area for children to play and adults to exercise. Please test this property for lead before transfer. Do not do a CEQA exemption. Allow community members, residents to weigh in on what they want for this property on 71F. My public comment is people won't always be saying thank you to Supervisor so-and-so, kissing, you know what, then maybe this meeting will be an hour shorter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next participant is Laura Coholan. Please state your item number you'll be addressing and whether you will address general public comments. You may begin.
Yes, hi, my name is Laura Coholan. I'm a resident of District 2, and I'm calling in to address general public comment. I'm a member of the Justice LA Coalition, and we were deeply troubled by the motion that was introduced by this board, specifically that would have expanded electronic monitoring. And we are also troubled by the lack of community transparency with which it was crafted. While we appreciate that the board wanted to take immediate action to decarcerate Men's Central Jail, we also know that it's imperative that the board take input from community experts who continually reached out to this body, and in particular for some board offices with no response. We are not aligned on law enforcement critique of this issue. We absolutely, as a coalition and as a general body, believe in decarcerating people who are legally innocent, and this motion would have led to the reincarceration of our community members because of an expansion of the electronic monitoring, which we cannot in good faith support because it would lead to more funding for law enforcement and the reincarceration of vulnerable community members. Again, we want to reiterate the imperative of transparency in the policymaking process. It is so important that formerly incarcerated folks, currently incarcerated folks, and advocates with...
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for calling in. And your little dog, too. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Lilly Dorn. Please state the item numbers you are addressing today and whether you address in general public comment. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Lilly Dorn. I'm with the Community Clinic Association of Los Angeles County, and I am providing general public comment and also providing comment on item number 35. I really want to thank Supervisor Mitchell again and the Board of Supervisors for requesting the report from Dr. Contreras today. And I just really wanted to highlight that, the fact that the benefits CAL system is not living up to its potential as a vital access point, that we are encouraging an independent analysis of what functionalities work appropriately and those that do not, so we can fix the most pressing issues impacting processing renewals. Outreach materials circulated by DPSS must include not just this website, but also the phone number for the CFC line. I will underscore that the phone must be messaged as a viable resource for Medi-Cal members to report changes and engage with DPSS. Health centers know how vital the phone is, and we must support patients who lack the resources or capabilities to navigate a website, especially when it lacks key functionalities. Finally, we appreciate data being emphasized in this discussion. We need timely data reporting and oversight of the renewals process and
the monthly sharing of data with external partners. We need data detailing how many cases were terminated and for what reason, processing time, CFC wait times, and drop calls data, and the percentage of cases that were successfully auto-renewed. Identifying issues early on and working toward timely solutions to minimize coverage loss is key. We thank the board and DPSS for your care and concern on this, and we look forward to the opportunity to further engage. I'll also add that CCLAC is ready and willing to collaborate closely with DPSS and other stakeholders to identify solutions via a work group. DPSS and other partners are key to this work. So we look forward to identifying and advancing solutions to best support the communities we serve in keeping their coverage. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Lady K. Chavarro. Please state the item numbers you're addressing today and whether you will address general public comment. Please go ahead.
This is Lady K. Chavarro. I am speaking on item number 22. And this is regarding Penal Code 1203.106 and 1203.107. I oppose it. This is not approving protection for it's not improving protection for victims or the society. It makes it better for the criminal. Releasing a criminal, I think if you have enough leniency given to them already. LASD, ODC, they're not judges. They're not jurors. Victims are the ones who are supposed to be getting public safety. They're not. And that's what the police officers say. They arrest the people. You guys are trying to create laws to help the city attorney just release them back out there to re-victimize the victims. And so, how are you going to pay for this? Your favorite thing is to raise property taxes. Eventually people will be homeless because you continually raise property taxes and they won't be able to afford their own housing. So I think that there's
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Make the United States godly again. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Jessica McNeil. Please state the item numbers you are addressing today and whether you will address in general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, yes, this is Jessica McNeil. I'm commenting general public comments. And I just wanted to say, 2 years after the MCJ closure report came out, we're still waiting for MCJ to close. And I just want to make sure that the board knows that we are never going to stop advocating for the closure of this deadly, violent facility. And it's really important that y'all immediately allocate $237 million towards ODR beds to get 3,600 beds in there so that we can start to decarcerate MCJ immediately, and that needs to be done in the next 2 years. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Next participant will be Roy Humphreys. Please state the item numbers you'll be addressing today and whether you'll address it in general public comment. You may begin.
Okay, folks, so we'll be looking at number 50 and 22 and also general public comment. And, excuse me, number 23. Number 23, I find it just obnoxiously rude and so objectionable that we are funding anything for illegal immigrants. And just for you board members and the governor of the state of California, that the Supreme Court is looking at those who aid and abet the subversion of the Constitution of the United States and the laws which prohibit those who want to assist in violating the cross-border laws on that. Also, number 50 on the graffiti thing, until you have graffiti tracker going and get these people and put them in jail, as they have done in the past. We did it, and with just remarkable impact on the overall graffiti thing, and we bring that cost down several $1 million. And also in general public comment, we have Supervisors Solis and Hahn, which have perpetuated a blighting of the community of Roland Heights by refusing to have their staff, and now it's Ryan Serrano to get the houses, the Martinez houses on Otterbein, demolished and taken down as they should. And now we have what's called illegal dumping. And we have to thank our supervisors for their negligence in respecting the integrity of this community. And please, yeah, I see you could still have that stupid time clock in there, which has no relationship to anything, and it just makes you look straight up stupid. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Missy. Please state your item numbers you will be addressing today and whether you'll be addressing in general public comments. You may begin.
Thank you. I will be addressing agenda item 2260 and general public comments. Item 22, the prior speaker had said this. Public speaker had said that 22 basically circumvents the decision of judges and the justice system and the state laws, including the penal code, and puts those responsibilities in the lap of the Board of Supervisors, and then it seems like anyone they choose to delegate it to. It's inappropriate. You don't have the authority. Even the agenda item on that, we don't have the authority to do this. I'm glad you took it off the agenda today, but please do not bring it back because it is simply putting the public more at risk, and we're already enough at risk with DA not enforcing laws. Item 60, all electric vehicles for inmate transportation buses. Please vote no on this. Cost of approximately $3 million for a quantity of 2 electric buses and charging stations. Why? Because this is not a high priority cost in an economy that's moving into a recession. The documentation does not identify the cost of a charging station, makes an estimate on the buses, but basically says, hey, we have to do some review of this. I think enough cities have electric buses that you could key into information and data from other municipalities and counties before you spend some of the nearly $3 million on some studies. So it's just, it says that it's no cost to the county, but again, there's no limit on this, and it seems to be a piecemeal approach without a comprehensive and total project identified. In general public comment, I'll just mention in relation to my other 2 items of 22 and 60, California and County of Los Angeles is ranking lower and lower in terms of counties and in terms of states because of crime, excessive crime, safety issues, and questionable policies. All these conditions contribute to a mass exodus, as has been recorded in the press in numerous articles over the past 2 years, of a mass exodus of population leaving California because of crime, because of bad policies, etc. So I ask the Board of Supervisors respectfully, please focus on policies that can turn the tide of people fleeing out of the state of California more so than in the history of the state. It made the papers too, I think at least a year and a half ago, about someone in LA County saying, do not travel, do not come, do not vacation in LA County, perhaps even all of California, because it's too dangerous. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Byron Jose. Please state address the items you will be addressing today, or whether you'll be addressing in general public comment. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Byron Jose, speaking on agenda item 2260 in general public comment. I have been a resident of SB2 my whole life, well, most of my life since I was 10 years old, and I am part of the Sun Looking at Coalition and Reimagine LA Coalition.